Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Run in the Paint recap. Today is Tuesday, October 29th, coming off of a day with a lot of close games on Monday. I'm Miles. I'm here with Nick. Nick, how are you doing?
Good, man. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me. Well, I guess not thanks for having me, but I missed the pod earlier, so thought I'd hop on for the recap tonight and happy to be here. Happy to talk about a full day of NBA comebacks.
Yeah, that's what it was really last night, a day of comebacks. We had 11 games. Not going to get to all of them in depth, but we will talk about all of them so far. And like we've said, just a ton of close games, a lot of come from behind ones, and a lot of choices that we could start from. But first, let's just get started with a game that just wrapped up. Was we were recording, we were just watching together the LA Lakers and the Phoenix Suns, a rematch from Friday, where the Lakers came back and defeated the Suns after trailing by 20 points in the first half. A little role reversal in this one. The Suns down 18 almost immediately to the Lakers, came back and ended up holding on to the 109-105 victory to give the Lakers their first loss of the season. And it really was a team performance. Booker and Durant, you see the scoring numbers that they put up. Bradley Beal chipped in with some scoring and some impressive defensive plays as well. And they were able to hold off Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves, and the Lakers. Nick, where do you want to start from this game?
Well, big night for Phoenix. Bradley Beal had missed the last game or two with an injury, so he was coming back tonight. And it's good to see him play well, but really the story for me was Booker and Durant combining for 66 or 63 points rather. That's just huge. The Suns are gonna be tough to beat when they do that. I thought it was interesting that they went with the Plumlee matchup tonight, a lot more so than Nurkic. That was one thing that we were talking about when we were watching. Plumlee ended up doing really well in that role, though. He was plus 23 or so off the bench without even scoring, and the Nurkic minutes were not as good. But yeah, LeBron in this one only had 11 points, and I think that was probably a big key for the Lakers because you got another 29 and 15 night out of Anthony Davis, and AR chipped in with 23 points himself. That was a really good showing for him. So I guess LeBron was the missing ingredient. And yeah, like I said, just a good win for the Suns because they have high hopes for this year, and getting this win was a big win tonight because you did not want to fall 0-2 to the Lakers. And even more so, you didn't want to let the Lakers have an even hotter start at 4-0.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this was going to be a big test for both teams either way coming into this game. And LeBron James, he's probably going to be a huge talking point today on major sport shows. And we do kind of have to talk about it because this game only has 11 points, 3 for 14 from the field. There for a while in this game, he was stuck at 7 points. And we're like, man, is his double-digit scoring streak going to come to an end? But he ended up hitting a 3 and finishing with 11 points. But so far this season, he had that monster triple-double against the Sacramento Kings on Saturday where he single-handedly took over the game in that fourth quarter. But so far, he hasn't looked the best, hasn't had the craziest performances. You wonder if that's him kind of getting adjusted to having Anthony Davis being the main focal point there in LA, or if all those miles are finally starting to pile up on LeBron. I know that's probably something that a lot of people will talk about. Nick, what do you think about LeBron's performances so far this season?
Well, I mean, the first 3 games the Lakers had were all at home. So, to get 3 wins and have LeBron play not great, but decent enough in those games, I think is on par for, what we expect to see out of him. But then, having to travel to Phoenix for this 4th game, it's their first road game with a new team, with a new coach. That's why I picked the Suns in this one in our pick'em bracket. But, for most of the game, I thought the Lakers were going to win it because they looked like the better team. They went up, I think it was 23-8 early in the first quarter and held the lead through halftime. But the Suns really closed the gap around halftime and into the third quarter. And yeah, I don't know, maybe those miles are adding up, like you said, but I really think it was just the comfort level wasn't the same as what was in the first 3 games at home, and maybe that was what threw him off a little bit.
Yeah, first road game of the season. And got to give credit to the Suns defenders as well. They did a fantastic job. Kevin Durant had 4 blocks in this game. We were talking a little bit, even Devin Booker was mentioning it in his post-game interview. The rookie Ryan Dunn has come in, and he has not gotten easy assignments so far in his first week or so in the NBA, but he has played very, very well for someone that is known more for his athleticism, wasn't the best shooter in college. He's been coming in and knocking down threes. He was doing it in the preseason. He's doing it so far in the NBA. And if he can do that, more youth and athleticism on this Suns team, that would definitely be huge. I mean, they so far look a lot different than they did in their disappointing last season.
Yeah, I mean, the role players are going to be huge for them. Guys like we talked about, Nurk and Plumlee for sure. But also, I mean, Royce O'Neal was closing the game for them at the end. He had a couple big defensive plays and loose ball minutes and rebounds and stuff like that towards the end of the game. But yeah, O'Neal, Grayson Allen, Dunn, Nurkic, Plumlee, those guys are going to have to play well for the Suns to go anywhere, because it can't just fall on those top three guys, even though they are, three of the top guys in the league. But they're going to need some support.
Yeah, absolutely. And we mentioned with Mason Plumlee, you think last season the Suns probably wouldn't have won in this situation, falling behind early with Nurkic struggling as that big man there. Last year they had Drew Eubanks as their backup center. That probably they would not have won this game, essentially, if you think as far as their backup center goes. Getting into the end of the game a little bit, it was kind of crazy how the end of this game did play out. It was 107-104 for a while. The Suns had a lead in the final minute. But the Lakers had possession after a double foul was called, the rare double foul between Austin Reeves and Bradley Beal. So the Lakers had the ball. They got it to LeBron, and he was immediately fouled. Smart play. Don't give up the three. Make him shoot free throws. And LeBron, with about 6 seconds remaining, with the Lakers not having any more timeouts, he made the first free throw, got it down to 2, then purposely missed the second free throw to try to get the offensive rebound. We see that all the time. And he missed it pretty well. It hit the bottom of the rim. You really don't see any plays like that, but the Suns did get the rebound and ended up going on to win. Nick, what did you think about that decision, still with 6 seconds left, LeBron missing the free throw on purpose?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the Lakers didn't have any timeouts left. And at that point, advancing the ball after having to let them inbound it and get a foul on them, you're looking at probably less than 4 seconds, and without being able to advance the ball. 4 seconds if you're lucky, honestly. It'd probably be less than that. So I don't mind. I think it was a good decision, and LeBron executed it pretty well. Just it was like an onside kick. The ball didn't bounce back to the offense.
Yeah, that's I would probably agree with that as well. But yeah, good win for the Phoenix Suns. All this talk about LeBron not having the best start to the season, that probably will get jump started when the Lakers visit Cleveland to face the Cavs for their next game. LeBron back in Cleveland. But let's go to the Cavs for our next game. They were one of 4 undefeated teams going into this game. 3 of them playing last night. Lakers, of course, falling, but the Cavs staying undefeated with an impressive come-from-behind victory at the Garden, defeating the New York Knicks 110-104, a defensive-minded battle. This was definitely an ugly playoff-type feel for a lot of the game, and down the stretch, the difference was Darius Garland on both ends of the floor, taking over in the fourth quarter, knocking down shots, and also defending Jalen Brunson at the other end. Had 2 huge blocks on back-to-back possessions on Brunson. So just a huge win for the Cavs. They stay 4-0. Nick, what were some of your main takeaways from this game?
Yeah, it was a very defensive-minded game, and I was watching the Celtics-Bucks. That was kind of timed up with this one. And it was 52-48. The score is pretty similar in both games. The only thing was there was like 4 more minutes in the Celtics-Bucks game than there was in the Cavs-Knicks game. So
yeah,
that kind of told the story. But yeah, huge game for Garland. Love to see it from him. I thought the Knicks offense looked pretty bad. I know the Cavs are a great defensive team. The Knicks didn't play horribly overall. Like, their defense was really good as well. But, yeah, their offense did not look good. They were, I think, 9 of 36 from deep or 9 of 31. You want to get more three-point shots up. You want to play at a higher pace. And the Cavs were able to kind of take them out of that a little bit. So, yeah, good one for the Cavs. Going on the road again, another good road win in MSG. So,
yeah, for their first real test of the season, because I'm sure for a lot of fans across the league, with the Cavs starting 3-0 against not that great of competition so far. Let's just call it what it is. You could say the 3-0 start, not really believe in it, not really buy into it that much. But coming in on their first test of the season and coming out with the win, I think is huge. And a game that they really shouldn't have won, looking at it. I mean, in the first half, they played okay. I thought that they played fine offensively. They just didn't hit their shots. Like, they were 5 for 20 from 3 in the first half, 25%. A good majority of those were wide open looks that just didn't go down. But their problem in the first half was they gave up 11 offensive rebounds to the Knicks, 3 for Josh Hart, 3 for Mikal Bridges, and a lot of them were tip-ins that were just turned into easy second chance points for the Knicks. That and the turnovers as well really cost the Cavs in the first half, and that caused them to be down by 13 points in the second half. But they really fixed that up in the second half. The Cavs shot 55% from the field in the second half, 7 of 16 from 3, and out-rebounded the Knicks 21-15. And, a big reason was because they weren't knocking down their shots. But I think a big point from this game that you could look at from the Knicks side of things is that center spot with Karl-Anthony Towns there. Did not look that great defensively. The Cavs were going right at him in pick and rolls. They have the big bodies in Mobley and Allen, who this season, we hadn't really seen it in years past. This season are aggressive, looking to go right at bigs that they feel like they can go at. And they were scoring and making plays. And Karl-Anthony Towns fouled out in this game. There were several times where Tibbs had to take him out and throw in a Jericho Sims or even the rookie, Ariel Hukporti, to get backup minutes. I'm assuming these were his first real NBA minutes going up against bigs. And this is something that could really pose a problem for the Knicks going forward with Towns at that 5 position and not having Mitchell Robinson or Achua so far this season.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, that was the question going in, and it showed up here in Game 4 with the Knicks dropping one at home in a game that they should have won because they got outscored by 10 in the fourth quarter, and they were up most of the game. So I thought that the difference maker in this game was going to be OG Anunoby and his ability to sort of not hide Karl-Anthony Towns, but really help him out on the defensive end, be able to match up with Evan Mobley and be able to help out on that end with Karl-Anthony Towns. But it just wasn't enough. OG had the best plus minus for the Knicks in this game. Unfortunately, it was only +3, and that didn't outweigh some of the other poorer minutes. But for the Cavs, 4-0 with a brand new coach, I mean, that's really solid. Going into a hostile environment in Madison Square Garden, one of the most amped places in the world that you can play basketball, and squeaking out a win with a comeback in the fourth quarter. I mean, you've done it in a couple different ways now. A couple blowouts, had a close win in there, semi-close win versus the Wizards. It was about a 14-point game, but it was a battle. So, yeah, we'll see. I know this is another big stretch here for the Cavs. They got, I think, a couple more. Got the Bucks coming up on the schedule, the Magic. I think the Celtics are in there. So,
yeah, we'll get to see what this team is really made of. Absolutely. But so far, they have been looking very impressive. Another game where all 4 of the Cavs' core 4 all play very well. Like Garland with the 34 points, Donovan Mitchell 25, Mobley 17 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks. Again, just looking aggressive. You see, even though the stat lines for the last few games, they look the same as the last few seasons, but you can tell he just looks like such a better player this year because he's more attack-minded.
Yeah, I think Mobley's – I'll check on this, but his field goal number attempts have to be up just through these first 4 games from where they were.
Yeah, absolutely. I would assume so as well. One final note from this game that I'll take from the Cavs, and having Kenny Atkinson here in his first test as the Cavs head coach in this hostile environment, he did a great job of making adjustments during the game as far as his rotation. To start the game in the first half, he ran his normal rotation, which had been working. And guys like Isaac Okoro and Ty Jerome, Ty Jerome specifically has been great so far for the Cavs this season. Didn't really have that great of a game against the Knicks in the first half, was missing shots. They both had a negative impact in that first half. So Kenny Atkinson played Okoro for 2 seconds in the second half, didn't play Jerome at all. So basically cut his rotation down by 2 players. to get the Cavs back into the game. So I love seeing that as we lose Nick momentarily here. So yeah, just a great victory overall for the Cavaliers. Now 4-0 on the young season. We'll see how they play heading into the next game. As there's Nick back with us there. Let's get into our next game here. The Indiana Pacers and the Orlando Magic. This is one that I kind of had circled on the ballot for today because these are two teams that were in the same spot kind of last year, regular season record-wise, kind of fighting for the same spots this season, but the Pacers struggling a little bit so far. And what we got this game was an absolute masterpiece from Paolo Banchero, who had 50 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists, leading the Magic to the close 119-115 victory. The Magic now 3-1 on the season. Pacers fall to 1-3. This was just spectacular from Paolo Banchero tonight. I cannot believe that he had the first 50-point game of the season.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. All I got to say is a quick, big shout out to the Run in the Paint Fantasy Basketball League for drafting Paolo to my team when I missed my second overall pick because he dropped a bag tonight, dropped a whole load of points. Yeah, definitely didn't see this 50 ball coming from Paolo, but I don't know. Indiana doesn't play defense, and now they're 1-3, so not a good start for them. I think it might say more even about Indiana than it does Paolo himself. Although not to take anything away from Paolo, 16 of 26, 50 points on only 3 made 3-pointers is incredible. 1 point, 1 assist away from a 50-point triple-double in your third season is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, he was just spectacular. A lot of those points came in the first half. Well, his stat line at halftime was something like 37, 7, and 6. Yeah. And it was just spectacular. I saw his shot chart from the first half, and he was just making shots from all over the place. He did a great job mixing up his attacks to the basket, finishing strong over contact. His pull-up mid-range game has been lethal, occasionally throwing in a three-pointer, and then getting to the free throw line. He got to the line 22 times, only made 15 of them. He could have had a 57-point game if he nailed all of his free throws. He was just fantastic and really helped out a Magic team where Franz Wagner only plays 10 minutes in this game because he feels sick during the game. He left it due to an illness, stayed on the bench, but he stepped up. But for the Magic, couple more shout-outs to Jalen Suggs. Can't forget about Jalen Suggs knocking down 6 threes, 25 points, 5 boards, 7 assists. And Anthony Black hitting the game-winning three-pointer with 30 seconds to go.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him out there closing games. Second year, sophomore season for Anthony Black. Didn't have a huge role, for them last year, but played good minutes when he was out there. And a 6'8", switchable. He's not even a 4. He's not even a wing. He's a guard.
Yeah.
At 6'8", definitely a good guy to have out there that can, knock down the 3 at the end of the game and guard multiple positions. I liked it.
Yeah, I know there were times last season where Magic fans wanted Anthony Black to play more, and now we're getting to see it, and it has been great so far. The Magic again off to a 3-1 start this season. For Indiana, they looked more like themselves in this game, and this is something you can check it out on the full Run in the Paint podcast. That'll also be up that Joey Jackson and I recorded earlier yesterday. But so far through their first 3 games, they really had not looked like themselves at all. Specifically, Tyrese Halliburton, when looking at the numbers coming in, he was only averaging 12 points and 4 assists, which is nothing close to where he was last year. Had 19 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds. He was 4 for 9 from 3, but for some reason, the jump shot does not look as wet as it did last year. It just doesn't look as good as it did last year. Siakam nearly carried the Pacers to a road victory. He was hitting some tough shots trying to will the Pacers to the victory. But at the end, now the Pacers are 1-3, like you said. And we'll see if this is something that we need to worry about this team going forward.
Yeah, where'd you guys put the panic meter on Indy?
Some guys had them higher. I think Joey had them really high. I didn't think the Pacers were going to do a lot of crazy things this season. I think play-in is about the right spot for them this year. But so far, they just haven't looked that good, and 1-3, definitely not the start that they were looking for.
It seems like they just can't get everybody together. Some guys are looking all right, and they just can't get everybody on the same page.
Yeah, well, the deal was the big thing that I saw stat-wise was their pace going into the game yesterday. Last season, they were able to score a historic amount of points because of how many shots they were getting up, because of how many possessions they were having, because of their pace. They were second in the league in pace last year, and going into this game yesterday, they are bottom 5 in pace, which is a complete flip around. And maybe that's because of the teams that they were playing against some defensive-minded teams, you could say, with the Pistons under J.B. Bickerstaff, the Knicks. The Sixers loss is one that I didn't like at all for that team, literally giving the game away down the stretch. But we'll see if the Pacers can make it up in future games for sure. It is only 4 games into the season. We still have a long, long way to go. Next game, right. Let's go to the Boston Celtics, staying undefeated, defeating the Milwaukee Bucks 119-108. In a game where for the first half it was pretty close. All the Bucks, mainly Dame and Giannis, were doing their thing. But it was Peyton Pritchard exploding for 28 points and 8 threes off the bench. And then Jaylen Brown got it going in the second half, 30 points, to give the Celtics the 11-point victory. Nick, what are some things that stood out to you from this game?
Man, Jaylen Brown is a beast. I mean, at 6'8", 25, 30, 40, whatever he is, he's just a tough guy to stop in the lane. Like, I'm watching everybody try to guard this dude, from Andre Jackson to Taurean Prince to even Brook Lopez. Like, he's just able to get where he wants and put the ball in the hoop. And he does it really well in transition, in the half court, and then he can just pull up on you as well. So Jaylen Brown is what stood out to me. Tatum, I think, was 1 for 8 from downtown in this game. He only had 15 points, and the Celtics were able to overcome that without their Kristaps Porzingis. Without him, he's still out. But they just look really good on both ends. And I know the Celtics get a lot of talk about their offense. They hit 29 threes on opening night, and they score a lot of points, and they have 7 or 8 guys that can all really play at that end. But their defense is really incredible to watch because they just play as a team. I mean, Drew Holiday and Derek White are 2 of the best that's spoken for, but all 5 guys are locked in on that end. They all know kind of what each other is going to do, and they play really good team basketball, team defense.
Yeah, which is what you expect out of the defending champions and the favorite to win it again this season. On the Bucks side of things, with Lillard and Giannis once again having another great game together, but not really receiving much help. I talked about it with the other guys on the full podcast. They were included in the panic meter segment. Are you worried at all about the Bucks 1-3 start so far to the season?
I mean, yeah, it's not good. I kind of have them like between that 4th and 5th spot, but they have hopes of being higher. So yeah, I would definitely be worried because they've had they lost to the Bulls, right?
Yes, they lost to the Bulls, Nets, and now the Celtics.
Yeah, no. You got to win those Eastern Conference games because the East is deep, and you're going to need those wins later on in the season. Like 2 or 3 games could be the difference between the 3 seed and 7 seed. So those are important. And they had Cam Thomas go off on them. They had Zach LaVine go off on them. Dame just dropped 33. It's like they can't defend the ball.
Yeah, their defensive problems, it looks like they're still having the same defensive problems like they were last season. But, I mean, again, this is the Boston Celtics we're talking about here, only 4 games into the season. But, I mean, this is a team that the Celtics are – this is a team that the Celtics are looking to or that the Bucks are looking to, go up against if they really want to be up in that upper echelon spot in the Eastern Conference. But, again, they held with them for most of the game here. Besides the third quarter of this game was really the difference. If you take away the third quarter, the game was even. The game was tied. So, if you take away the third quarter. So really they were 1 quarter away from staying in this game fully. So we'll see how the Bucks can do going forward. Of course, Chris Middleton is still out for them. He's still a piece that could be huge for them potentially going forward.
That's true.
Now, moving on to next game. We're 3 straight games where we're talking about the teams that were in the panic meter. The Denver Nuggets against the Toronto Raptors. It was a crazy game, crazy finish in the final minutes. It took 5 extra minutes of play, but the Denver Nuggets were able to pull off the 127-125 victory against the Toronto Raptors thanks to another 40-point game from Jokic. This gives the Nuggets their first victory of the season against a tough Toronto Raptor team. This was a game that the Nuggets really should not have won down the stretch. If I go back looking at the box score, the Raptors had a 10-point lead with 2 minutes to go in the game. They were right there to pull out the victory. Scotty Barnes had nailed a 3. It was an 8-point game with 1:43 to go. Then Jokic made a couple hook shots. I mean, pretty much the Nuggets, they picked up their defense and scored off the Raptors misses and turnovers. And then with 9 seconds to go, Davion Mitchell only made 1 of 2 free throws. Then at the other end, Nuggets called timeout. They do the classic Murray-Jokic 2-man game, and Murray got a reverse layup with 0.3 of a second left in regulation to force overtime where the Nuggets would then go on to win. And that was even a crazy period in itself. The Nuggets had a 6-point lead to start, actually an 8-point lead to start overtime before the Raptors came roaring back and nearly got a 3-pointer at the buzzer. R.J. Barrett missed a pull-up 3 at the buzzer that would have given the Raptors the win. So the Nuggets sneak out of Toronto with an overtime victory for their first win. But once again, you see the problems that they've had the first few games of the season with whenever Nikola Jokic is off the floor, struggling to really provide much offense. Their bench was a little bit better in this game, but still overall, Jokic was a +9, meaning that they got outscored by 7 points in the 10 minutes he was off the floor.
Yeah, they only ran pretty much an 8-man rotation, bringing P. Watt, Russ, and Julian Strawther off the bench. And, I mean, those guys didn't play horribly, but, you'd like to have a little bit more production than 6 points and 9 points out of them. The thing for me in this game is Jamal Murray. He went 6 for 20 from the field, and the Nuggets had 16 turnovers. So that is no bueno. Jokic had 40 and 10, so that was huge. And, Jamal Murray going 6 for 20 is not great.
No, I mean, Denver, they're just lucky to pull out this victory, I think. I mean, it's definitely encouraging to see Porter, Gordon, and Brown all having efficient games because that had not really happened recently. You had mentioned it, the 3-point shooting that they only were 9 for 20, that they only took 23s. I actually don't mind it terribly because I think the Nuggets, the first couple of games, were just trying to get it more threes. Like, that was a point of emphasis. But now in this game, they're like, okay, we need to get a win. Let's go back to our roots. And they did. They took the shots when they were there, and they knocked them down when they got them. So,
Russ had to get one up there. He was 0 for 1.
Yeah, you knew Russ had to get one up there. But he had a decent game finally for them, and this one closed some minutes down the stretch there as well. Interesting to see what the Nuggets do going forward now because, like you said, they basically only played an 8-man rotation because Dario Saric, who I thought was going to be a decent backup big, he has not been good at all for Denver so far. And in the second half, they basically ran an 8-man rotation. They did not play Saric in that second half, having Gordon play as that backup 5 there a little bit. So we'll see if that's what the Nuggets do going forward, but they cannot be playing an 8-man rotation the whole season. It shows something that they had to go to an 8-man rotation against the Raptors in the 3rd game of the season.
Yeah, and one thing is Christian Braun is pretty good through the first 3 games. Like, it seems like he's stepped into that starting spot and had a lot of success. He was 6 for 11 today. He only made 1 for 4 from downtown, but hopefully those shots will start to fall as the season progresses. He's been all right so far in the first couple games in a starting spot for KCP.
Yeah, and he was like one of the bigger questions regarding that team. But in turn, It is the Nuggets bench that is the biggest question. It's can they hold the fort when Jokic goes to the bench? On the Raptors side of things, good all-around performances by them. They had 6 players that scored 15 points or more. Again, R.J. Barrett, his first game of the season, had 20, nearly made the game-winning 3-pointer at the buzzer. Scotty Barnes, 1 assist from a triple-double, 21, 12, 9, 5 steals as well. Jakob Poeltl had 19 rebounds. Grady Dick is going to have all the opportunity in the world to score a whole lot of points. He's going to be their starting shooting guard this season. And Ochai Agbaji off the bench, 15.7 rebounds. We'll see. I mean, this is a scrappy team. They're one of those teams at the bottom of the East where they are still a scrappy team. They have that Raptor identity that they've had in years past where they are going to try a bunch of different things with head coach Darko Rajakovic, and they're going to be able to steal some wins from some teams. That's for sure. They did it against the Sixers on Friday. They nearly did it against the Nuggets. So just kudos to the Raptors for, making it difficult for these teams.
Yes, sir.
Final 5 games of the night that we can touch on kind of briefly here. The Rockets held on to defeat the Spurs 106-101. This was another crazy finish where the Rockets led by 21 points, I believe, was their largest lead. A wire-to-wire victory, but the Spurs, thanks to a 6-point play with 40 seconds to go, came back, had it down to 2 before Fred VanVleet hit the dagger 3 there with the 20-something seconds to go to give the Rockets the victory. Jalen Green has been on fire so far to start this season. I believe in every single game he's been efficient. So it's been crazy so far this season. 26 points per game, 3 games in, and then you add on this 30-plus point game here. Jalen Green balling for the Rockets so far.
Yeah, I didn't get to see this one, but I know the Rockets are still without Amen Thompson. And did Cam Whitmore play in this one?
Well,
he played 12 minutes, had 4 points. Jalen Green show, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it is. I mean, him taking 13 threes. I mean, they're riding and dying by Jalen Green. Second straight game where Şengün does not look that great, but it is against Victor Wembanyama, so you kind of give him a little bit of a pass there. That may be another story in itself. Wemby, crazy statistical game, had 14, 20 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks, but his shot has not been looking that good so far this season. But, I mean, once again, you see the impact that Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes have had, the veterans on this team, being in games, coming back after trailing by 20. It's been impressive what the Spurs have been able to do so far. Next game, the Chicago Bulls, thanks to a franchise record 25 made threes, held on, actually came back. This was an actual 20-point comeback in Memphis against the Grizzlies. 126-123 in a game where Ja Morant did not play for the Grizzlies, but they had a lot of other players step up. When you look at the box score, there are a ton of different players that stepped up, especially off the bench, but the Bulls able to hold on to the victory.
Yeah, Desmond Bane missed a step-back game-tying shot there at the buzzer. It was a tough look, but Zach Edey hasn't really turned out to be so great so far.
Yeah, he hasn't really played a whole lot, even though he has been starting. But it hasn't mattered a whole lot because they've gotten performances from Santi Aldama, which have been great so far. The big man, Jay Huff, shout out to the 4-year contract that was just signed yesterday because of his performances so far. Had 10 points again today. He was averaging 13 coming into the game. So he's been a nice addition to that team. Nice diamond in the rough signing there. Scottie Pippen Jr., back-to-back double-doubles off the bench as well. Him getting the experience last year, getting to start for a lot of the season with all the injuries, paying off for a lot of these guys that are now coming in, getting to play minutes off the bench, rotational minutes. G.G. Jackson, your boy, when he comes back, he'll get added to that realm of players as well. But on the Bulls side of things, again, hitting the 25 made threes, Levine and Vucevic once again balling, for the Bulls. I keep saying it seems like this first half of the year is going to be a showcase for those two guys to eventually get traded. And it's been working so far. They've been putting up their numbers. And even Josh Giddey was 2 assists from a triple-double in this game, 12 points, 13 rebounds. So good win for the Bulls, I guess. I guess they're going to try to be good for the first half of the season.
It was a good win.
Definitely a good one there. And then the final 3 games, the Wizards pick up their first win of the season, defeating the Hawks 121-119. This was a game where the Wizards trailed by double figures before getting a double-digit lead in the second half. Then the Hawks came back. Trae Young nearly had a game-winning 3 at the buzzer to win it, but the Wizards hold on to the victory. Another game where Poole is balling, knocking down a whole bunch of threes. Kuzma was playing well as well. And this one, Corey Kispert at 21 off the bench. And Jalen Johnson for the Hawks, 29 points, 12 boards, 7 assists, able to combat a rough game by Trae Young.
Yeah, I was just trying to find out how many points Jalen Johnson had in the fourth quarter. He had 10 fourth quarter points. Almost brought him back.
Yep, almost brought them back in this one, but the Wizards able to get their first victory. The Dallas Mavericks defeat the Utah Jazz 110-102. Kind of a weird game looking at the box score. Clay hit 4 threes. Kyrie had a decent, efficient game. Luka had a really bad game, but the Mavericks were able to hold on for the victory against the Jazz, who are 0-3 now on the season. Then the final game of the day was the Miami Heat defeating the Detroit Pistons 106-98. Another game where the Pistons are in it till the very end, lose by single digits. Again, even though they're 0-4, I'm still impressed by what the Pistons have been able to do so far to start the season.
Yeah.
But there's a look at all 11 games from last night. We do have to now get into the MVP of the night. We've done it every single night so far when we've done the recaps. And last night, not a big surprise here. You know it has to be Paolo Banchero with the first 50-point game of the season, the 50, 13, and 9. Those numbers just look ridiculous. He just had a great game. We already covered it with the Magic. So shout out to Paolo getting the first 50-point game of the season and getting the MVP of the night honors for last night. And then final thing before we get out of here, got to take a look at the schedule for tonight. Only 4 games going on tonight. But first, looking at TNT at 7:30, we have a Western Conference Finals rematch, the Mavs and Timberwolves from Minnesota. That should certainly be a fun matchup with – I mean, this was a game that, Nick, you highlighted in our preview videos on our full podcast as being your game to watch in the month of October.
That's correct. I'm looking forward to it.
Should definitely be fun there with Luka and Ant battling once again. And then the nightcap at 10 p.m., the Pelicans and the Warriors – battling it out. Unfortunately, no Steph Curry, potentially no Andrew Wiggins in this one for the Warriors against the Pelicans, but they are debuting their new, their old classic jerseys with the red lettering there, going back to their old roots there for the Warriors there. And then a couple League Pass games, the Nuggets and the Nets at 7:30. Hopefully the Nuggets can just beat the Nets there. And then Sacramento and Utah facing off at 9 o'clock from Salt Lake City. So there's a look at your games tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the recap. Let us know in the comments your thoughts about all these crazy close games. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Make sure you check out the full podcast that we are posting a little bit later today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Later.